morning, everyone. I'm going to speak slowly so Marcel can get back in. Good morning. My name is Debbie Douglas, and I'm chair of TCHC's Board's Governance, Communications, and Human Resources Committee. Welcome to the public session of today's committee meeting. I hope everyone is enjoying the wonderful weather that we've been having. As per our good practice, let me begin with the acknowledgement that the land that we're meeting on and where we all live is the territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. Toronto, as it's known in English, is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. I often take this time as well to acknowledge that we're all treaty people, those of us who came yesterday, those of us who've been here for generations, and I especially want to acknowledge those who came here involuntarily, because through the enslavement of African peoples and the transatlantic slave trade, we pay homage to my ancestors brought to these lands. So we're ensuring that all of our board members are here so that we have quorum, and I see Marcel. Marcel, I can see you. We're playing flashcards. Okay. There you are. Very good. So thank you to our committee members who've joined us this morning, and of course to TCHC staff and leadership. Would members of the committee please indicate any agenda item in which you have a conflict of interest and what that conflict may be? Not seeing any nodding heads or hands. There are no conflicts. Are there any items on the public agenda that directors wish to hold? We know we're holding item 5, which is matters arising, because we have a deputation. Item 10, we also have a deputation. Any other items to be held? Yes? Holding item 9. I also wanted to hold item 10, which is around our subsidiaries. Sorry, item 8, sorry, yes. Okay, so can I have a motion to adopt the recommendations in the reports of the public meeting agenda except for items 5, 8, 9, and 10? Thank you, Vanita. Thank you, Uba. All in favor, yay? Yay. Moving right along. Okay, number 5. Is Catherine available, please? Catherine Wilkinson?
Good morning.
Good morning. It's always good to see you.
Oh, and you too. It's hot out there today, eh, guys?
That it is, but we'll take it.
Yeah, oh, we will. We could use a little rain now and then, though. Yeah, so listen, on this action item list, it speaks to the deputation policy for stakeholders. We know it's been updated and it's being presented to you today before passing it on to the board for approval. The direction earlier discussed at the committee was undertaking some additional outreach and education with tenants, and a lot of this work has been done. It has not yet been completed in its entirety. So one example is the creation of the deputation template form, and this is a significant step towards encouraging first-time deputants how to make a successful deputation before the board or committees. And so it is for this reason I would suggest this item remain on the action item list until the various educational materials related to the policy are completed and presented to the governance committee and the board. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Catherine. Any questions to staff on this? Thank you, Catherine. We'll certainly take this under advisement.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to receive the action items update? Vanita? Thank you, Marcel. All in favor? It's passed. Thank you. Welcome, Brian. Okay,
Thank you.
item number 8. Annual update on subsidiaries. Dara?
Good morning, committee members. The one aspect of this report that I wanted to highlight was that one of the pieces of work that we are currently undertaking is to effect an amalgamation of 2 subsidiary corporations. TCHEI and RPEI are both subsidiaries of TCHC. TCHC's sole purpose is to hold all of the shares of RPEI, and while that previously made sense as a structure when RPEI was a joint venture between TCHC and a third party, the structure is not necessary at this point in time. So just wanted to highlight for the committee members and for the board that one of the actions that we're taking at this point in time is to amalgamate those 2 subsidiary organizations so that essentially they'll continue to carry on as RPEI without the need for TCHEI's existence.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Yes.
Wanted to go first.
Go ahead.
Through the chair to Dara and team, I think it's a great idea to be cleaning this up sooner than later with all the incentives that exist. You want to eliminate a lot of that confusion. So obviously it had to occur one way during development and construction, but simpler is definitely better for a number of reasons.
Yeah, I wanted to hold this because I think it's important for committee members to understand how the organization functions. And often when we just accept this, there isn't that conversation that I think is important for board members to know. So thank you for that explanation. Okay, can I have a motion to receive the annual update? Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Brian. All in favor? Yay. Okay. Board Committee Charter, hold number 9. Dara, is that you?
The documents that are before the committee this morning and that should the committee approve them, we'll take to the board meeting on July 18th, serve to affect some changes to the charter documents for the board and its committees that we believe will provide clarity, reduce the amount of verbiage in the charter documents, and provide direction to staff and to the committees as to matters that should come to the board's attention once they're considered by committee. So in a nutshell, in summary, the changes extend the application of language in the vice chair mandate to make it clear that the vice chairs at the committee level would perform essentially the same role as vice chair at the board. It provides some clarity into the manner in which decision making is to be elevated to the board once the matter's been considered by one of the board's committees, identifying the considerations that would inform that type of a decision. So it highlights the need to elevate matters to the board where obviously a matter may exceed the delegated authority of a committee. There is legislation or language in the city's shareholder direction that would require the board to specifically consider a matter. And finally, matters where the issue that is addressed in a report it raises material or significant financial, legal, or strategic implications or risks that would warrant the board's attention. There has in the past been some inconsistency among as to matters that are considered by the committee and that get elevated to the board, and this language we hope will provide a framework that the decision making at the committee level can take place in a consistent manner. It also affects changes to the BIFAC and IOC charters that are consistent with the recently approved investment policy statement, and it amends the Tenant Services Committee charter to reflect the recent introduction of the LIFT program. And finally, we received some suggested changes from Director Joshua Abidi in relation to the BIFAC charter at BIFAC when the matter was there, and we've incorporated those changes into the BIFAC charter.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, Benita?
Through the chair, I thought the package was really robust and captured much of the changes discussed. The only kind of item that stood out to me was in the main board charter. We use the terminology strategic oversight a lot to describe the board's responsibility versus like the full breadth of our fiduciary responsibility that's in the shareholder direction. So I didn't know if I was maybe being nitpicking or with semantics, but it stood out to me because in each of the board committee charters we're much more involved, and we should be because we're prescriptive to that scope. But in the main board charter, maybe just double checking that, because it just showed up what felt like in high frequency, that it's strategic objective and kind of unintentionally narrowing the focus on the main charter.
I'm wondering if it's a matter of definition of strategic. And Dara?
So we can take that away as direction to take that action before the charters are at the board. And if we can identify changes that we can affect to the board charter document that address that concern before the board meeting on the 18th, we'll incorporate them, and perhaps with some feedback from interested directors, we can settle on language that can be presented to the board on the 18th.
Yeah, because when I read that, I didn't take it to mean only the strategic plan, which I think is how you're interpreting it. Yeah. Brian, you're smiling. Do you have something to say? You're muted.
Sorry, no, I was agreeing. Sorry.
Yeah. So let's take a look at that so that we're all understanding what that means in the same way. Yeah, I think for me it's reinforcing that the board is not involved in operations, and that's what it means by strategic oversight is how I read it.
Happy to address that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and not seeing any other comments or questions to staff on this, can I have a motion to approve the new committee and board charter and recommend that we send to the board for approval? Thank you, Uba. Thank you, Vanita. All in favor? It's fast. Thank you. Okay, item number 10. We're just moving along. We have two deputations. One was sent in writing by Ms. Victoria Ojubuyi, and we have a verbal deputation from Catherine Wilkinson. From Ms. Wilkinson, please.
Thank you again. Yeah, so listen, I really appreciate that we're moving along with this deputation policy as the person who's been championing this for 10 years. So thank you, Brian, former chair of governance, for getting us here. And I also want to thank Toronto Community Housing for creating this email subscription process whereby tenants who are interested in receiving notification of upcoming meeting and materials can sign up. This has somehow morphed into multiple button options, and one isn't sure which one they should choose. I registered to be notified of upcoming meetings and materials. As you know, I anticipated receiving one email per board or committee meeting that would include the date, agenda, and link to meeting materials only. In the last 7 days, I have received 5 emails. June 24, email link with governance agenda and materials. June 25, email list of all board and committee meetings in July. June 26, email link with governance agenda and materials and register to depute. June 27, email replay of board meeting of June 24th. And finally, June 29th, email deadline to register to depute for today's meeting, even though I had already registered. So that's 5 emails or 4 too many. This may be well intended, but it is perhaps more confusing than helpful. While the corporation can word their emails however they choose, some of the language being used in these emails is not clear or perhaps misleading to tenants. For example, on the June 26th email, it says, "See what will be discussed." Not very clear. And I would suggest we might reword that to say, "Review the agenda to see any items that may be of interest." Stay informed about important discussion. Get involved in decisions that affect you and your community. This sounds more like a tenant engagement pitch. I would suggest this is an opportunity for tenants to provide feedback on reports being presented to the board and its committees that affect Toronto Community Housing tenants and their communities. So it's not just centering out one community or one tenant. The deputation brochure on the website, the photos on it mirrors, again, a typical tenant engagement meeting, showing an individual speaking to a small group of people. The photos should more accurately depict what a tenant might expect when they speak before the board. So a picture of someone speaking before a large group of people seated at a table. We could actually just take a photo of one of our board meetings and put it in the brochure. The brochure is located on the Board and Governance tab on the main website, and we know that very few of our tenants are aware of the board or its purpose. Tenants may not have a reason to even look under that tab. So what I would suggest, deputation information should also be located under the tenant tab on the website. And I'm pleased we're moving forward with developing a deputation template. I think that's going to be a game changer, particularly for first-time deputants. I look forward to working with staff and other deputants in bringing that to life. As to the policy, on page 2, under the first paragraph, last sentence, it says it demonstrates Toronto Community Housing's commitment to open and transparent decision-making that ensures that it hears from tenants, staff, and community members. So my feedback is, well, we know a deputation can be heard in various formats, so they are not necessarily heard. And I would suggest the word heard be changed to considers feedback from tenant, staff, etc. On page 3, the deputation template jointly created with staff and previous deputants will serve tenants well now and into the future and when I retire. I don't see the value add to creating an instructional video. Why reinvent the wheel when we could simply post a video clip of previous live tenant deputations with their consent, perhaps one where tenant feedback resulted in the board or committee recommending changes to a report before them, and a deputation that did not necessarily result in changes, but was acknowledged by the board, so they could see a real live deputation and a real live board. On page 4, second bullet, last sentence, they should not be used to involve the board in issues related to any individual TCHC tenancy. This sounds like corporate speak, bear with me, Dara. And I think we should be more clear that we should say the board looks forward to receiving tenant deputations regarding policies, procedures, and delivery of services tenants receive in Toronto Community Housing. For privacy reasons, the board does not receive personal tenant complaints. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Catherine. Comments or questions? Some ideas for us to consider? Yes, Brian.
Just saying, can we refer Catherine's comments back to staff and ask them to take a look at these details? I think a number of them, obviously, we want to be able to be accessible as possible. So I think the suggestion under the tenant section would be really good, but I'd like to hear back from staff on how we could clean up some of these things to make it as straightforward and simple for accessibility as possible.
Absolutely. So yes, we will refer some of the ideas that you brought forward, Catherine, back to staff to see what's implementable as much as possible. I like your idea about using clips of past tenant deputations so that people are seeing real examples. Thanks for that. And I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm sure staff will be in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Be well.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other business on the public meeting? Oh, sorry. Motion to approve the new deputation policy and to recommend to the board for approval. Thank you, Vanita. Thank you, Brian. All in favor? Thank you. Any other business? Jokes, comments? Okay. A request for a motion to adjourn the public meeting. Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Vanita. All in favor? Great. Thank you. Thank you for those who joined us online. And we'll now go into our in-camera session. Committee members, you have 3 minutes to do something. Get up, stretch, grab some water.